Hello and welcome to the Election Corner on One Man Think Tank. Today I will be doing an unscripted prediction of the 2020 presidential primary. As it currently stands, there is no individual currently who seems to be winning the Democratic race outright. As such, I will be running with a hodgepodge of the various candidates, attempting to ignore certain biases or benefits or weaknesses a certain candidate may have towards or against certain states. Let me slightly move my mic to see if that picks up slightly better. Now, as you can see, based on my last prediction, I filled in certain states preemptively as safe. For the Republican Party, I've covered the states that they are sure to win by far, no questions asked. I did leave Nebraska's 2nd district as a likely, because there is always room that very urban area could flip, and as such, I decided to leave it in question. While Maine's 2nd district is a lot more volatile in nature. And for the Democrats, I left them with every electoral seat they won in 2016 rather. This is due to the fact that, if we're being honest, it is nigh unheard of for a candidate to gain seats they lost in a previous election, unless they have incredibly high popularity and favorables, which Trump does not. As such, I'm considering his 2016 loss, or 2016 states he lost, as his baseline. So, let's begin by knocking off the likely states. This will give us a better image, as currently it is very lopsided towards the Democrats' favor, but once we throw in some likelies, things will even out ever so slightly. So, starting off with Montana. I actually meant Montana to be safe. This is me due to the fact I have a Senate map open in another tab. So, Montana's actually safe. So, our final count comes down to 111 versus 232 seats. Now, for likely, we already know Nebraska's 2nd district is likely. It's a deep urban area, the Omaha-Lincoln area. Normally, these areas are very easy for the Democrats to win, but they have not had such luck in Nebraska. So the first likely state is going to be just below Nebraska, and that will be Kansas, which comes in as a likely for the Republicans. Kansas has ever so slightly trended blue, but not enough for it to flip overall. However, they have shown willingness to flip for a particularly displeasing candidate, which, given his favorables in the state, Trump matches. Especially if Chris Kobach is on the ticket for the Senate, which, unless Pompeo jumps in very soon, looks likely. Speaking of likely, so is Iowa. Many people like to imagine the first caucus state as some sort of purple state, the pure purple state, but in reality it's been trending more and more Republican over the past couple of years. Maybe with a little bit more info coming out of the various Senate races. Iowa, I might be willing to move Iowa a tad more towards leans, but for now, Iowa is likely. Continuing on with the Republican buildup, we have Kentucky and Ohio. Both of these states actually have a similar reasoning. They have shown, in the past 2 years, bursts of energy to support Democratic candidates. In Kentucky, that was for the governor's race. In Ohio, that was for Sherrod Brown. However, the individual needed quite a bit of name recognition and a rather unfavorable opponent. So, if an individual like Joe Biden or Senator Sanders goes in, there's a very good chance they could make these seats more competitive. And those are the last of the likely seats for the Republican Party. For the Democrats, they are only gaining one, and that is Michigan. Michigan was a surprise flip in 2016. However, given how close it was, as well as Michigan's sudden but not super surprising flip back to the Democrats, we can assume Michigan will go blue again. However, given the fact they flipped in the previous presidential election, we're going to leave them as likely for now. They could end up in the safe category. So this is where we're really starting out before we get into states that could possibly flip. And yes, Texas is a state that could flip, with the Democrats holding 248 seats and Republicans holding 150. And it looks like an uphill battle for the Republicans, as the Democrats only need to gain 22 seats. So them flipping Florida or Texas would give them the nomination. The question is, can they do it? So let's start off with the top, Maine's 2nd District. Now, Maine's 2nd District has historically voted Republican. It has trended in the direction of voting for Republicans for quite a long time. It was a surprise flip last year for the Democrats. Well, moderate surprise. Ranked choice voting helped eliminate the issue of spoiler candidates, as well as more turnout by the Democrats. As such, for right now, I'm putting Maine's 2nd District as a tilt. For now, this is also due to Trump's unfavorables in the state. We'll have to see what happens when we get some more state-to-state polling. Continuing down the East Coast, we have Pennsylvania, which historically has voted blue at the state level every time. But this has not always been the case, as we saw in 2016, where there wasn't a high amount of turnout, as well as a general dislike for the Democratic candidate. But that relies on two things. One, a very big dislike of the Democratic candidate, and two, a little bit of a apathy towards the Republican candidate, which I don't believe will be in the state this year. As such, I'm putting Pennsylvania as leans. This means the Democrats are 1 seat away from being able to flip the presidency. But are they likely to do it? Let's go down to the big state, Florida. Now, as you can see from the map I've set up, Florida is not as much of a linchpin as it was in previous years. However, I will say this. If the Democrats win Florida, they take the presidency. Easily. However, I don't think they will. I think Florida actually leans Republican. 2018 was Florida's opportunity to show everyone we're still a very elastic state. They didn't do that. They showed them as a Republican-leaning state. Whether or not people like that narrative, this narrative has been around since at least 2000 when Florida was responsible for Bush v. Gore. In practice, Florida has gone to a leans state. It needs to show a heavy amount of elasticity in this upcoming election, requiring either some part of the legislature to flip or to flip at the presidential level for me to even consider moving it back to tilt for Republican. That's how strongly I believe this is Republican. Speaking of in a few years maybe tilting, Georgia. Georgia is the state the Democrats want to take, especially with the 2 Senate seats up. However, I don't think Georgia is going to have that amount of luck, if you ask me. Georgia currently sits at a crossroads where, let's be honest here, there's a shit ton of voter suppression. We're 9 minutes in, I hope the algorithm doesn't pick that up. That is part of the reason why Kemp won. However, the reason I haven't put it in likely, which I would be inclined to do otherwise, is due to the amount of voter registration that's happened since 2018. Over twice the amount of the voters required to turn Georgia blue. And they've all been in the category of typical Democratic voter. Hence, for right now, it's going to be leans. However, you never know how things could turn out. And if there is a massive groundswell for the Democrats and a rather tempered Republican base, we could see a Georgia that turns blue. Speaking of not turning blue, Texas. Texas is now a purple state. I know it hasn't flipped yet, but given the fact the definition of purple state still includes Virginia and Iowa, I feel it can cover Texas as well. Texas is a state which is going more and more blue. I might upload it Wednesday, but definitely by Saturday. I hope to upload a video, unless there's some breaking news, about what the presidential map will look like in 2024. And that's going to have a very more... that South is going to be competitive. But Texas is just on the verge. And like I said, easily in a high turnout Democratic wave or a low turnout Republican low tide. Forgive me, my nautical terms aren't up to snuff right now. We could see Texas flip. However, I would say about 60% of the time that doesn't happen because it requires outside interference of abnormal conditions. So for right now, Texas is leans. Leans, not tilt. So let's go up to Wisconsin. Wisconsin, the state that nearly voted for Scott Walker again. A choice that could easily be questioned by both Democrats and Republicans. However, they did not. They did flip at the statewide level to blue. But at the presidential level during 2016, they failed to do so. And Wisconsin has actually been turning more and more red each presidential year. As far as I could tell. I may need to review that. But for now it has been. However, I'm willing to say that Wisconsin is tilt to the Democratic Party for right now. Meaning the Democrats, under this prediction, will win in 2020. So let's cover the last two states to see how much wiggle room they have, because losing Wisconsin still means they lose the presidency. Well, I think North Carolina is tilt towards the Democrats as well. The state has went very blue in the midterms, and was very contested in 2016 and did go blue for Barack Obama in 2008, showing a level of elasticity in the state that I don't think it gets credit for. In fact, I think Virginia should stop being considered a purple state and North Carolina should be in its place. Hence, I'm willing to give it tilt to the Democrats. Trump's unfavorables are playing hard against him here, much like they are in Arizona, the last state I need to reveal, and it is also a tilt. Arizona, a state that is the new Colorado, much like how North Carolina is the new Virginia, going purple on blue. And it is changing fast. The Phoenix area, as well as the Mesa area, have really started to turn out. And even if you remove the historically blue parts of the state, the Baja, Arizona portions, if you will, the state would have still elected Sinema in 2018. With another Senate race going on against Martha McSally, as well as Trump becoming more and more unfavorable in the border state, I could see the Democrats winning this, and I believe if you had to roll a dice 100 times, flip a coin 100 times, 55% of the time Arizona would go blue. So there you have my prediction, 305 votes for the Democrats, 233 for the Republicans. If you have an opinion on this and would like to correct me, give me some information I'm missing, or would just like to tell me how I'm wrong because Trump didn't sweep the board, leave a comment down below. Otherwise, feel free to like the video, and if you wish to see more content like this from the channel, as well as policy opinions and ideas, please remember to subscribe and click the notification bell. Otherwise, have a wonderful day.